Welcome to Stay Humble podcast, Luke Scott. How are you feeling today?
Thank you, David, for having me on. I'm feeling good. Sun's shining outside, but it's frosty this morning, but all is good.
Oh, that's good to hear. And just for the listeners, I just want to sort of get a bit of a background in terms of, for the viewers and as well as what have you sort of been through in terms of, and to let people know who you are, really.
Yeah, no problem. I'll try and keep it short and brief. Basically, I left school, went straight into the army after it's a job I wanted to do from as far back as I can remember. And I joined that at 17, and by the time I was 18, I was medically discharged for a knee injury. Found my way through Civvy Street, and my girlfriend got pregnant quite early on after I came out of the army, and ended up having an ectopic pregnancy. So I was sort of 18, about to be a parent, and then getting all excited about it, and it sort of come crashing down for both of us. And then we sort of got through it, muddled through it at the teenage years, not knowing what we wanted to do, and still probably been quite immature, to be fair. But I think the child would have made us more mature as people and adults, and would have had that responsibility. So there was a lot of grief going on. We didn't deal with it very well, I suppose, in a relationship. Things got a little bit tough. Ended up splitting up, being on and off for a little bit, and then we got back together. She got pregnant again quite early on, which was great. It was every time we split up, we were still good friends and always supported each other. And then we got back together, and quite early on, she got pregnant again, and that was fantastic. The boy was born healthy, happy, 9-year-old now, which was all good. And emotions were sort of come between us again, and I suppose the immaturity come back, and we're still. I was only 19 when my son was born, so still sort of finding my way in adult life. But we knew we had a responsibility, like I said, that would have happened from the previous pregnancy, and we muddled through it, and we were great parents, and started being on and off with the relationship because it wasn't right for us, but it wasn't fair to have the child in that situation with us arguing all the time either. So we was on and off, but like I say, still great parents and still very supportive of each other. And then we got back together again, and she fell pregnant again very, very quickly after. And just 11 months after our first son was born, we had a stillbirth, and it was crazy. Obviously turned our lives upside down, and we didn't really know what to do with ourselves. Fortunately, we had our eldest child to focus on and put all our efforts and energy into. Unfortunately, it didn't really give us time to grieve as much as we'd probably liked and maybe needed, because sort of all our time was consumed. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean our eldest child give us the smiles that we needed to continue and make everything normal for him. Again, because of grief and emotions, the relationship was on and off for a little bit. Still very supportive of each other and very good parents to our eldest. And then we did have a break for about 6 months. But after that, we'd realised that actually we have grown up a bit. We're a bit more mature. But in between that, I'd probably about 3 months after the stillbirth, I was falsely accused of rape. The police turned up at work one day and said, "We need to question you down at the police station." I was like, "Okay, what's this about?" And then that come out. Told my partner about it, and she was like the mother of our children. She was very supportive and supported me all the way through it, and sort of couldn't believe that someone would say things like that. And yeah, so by the time I was 21, me and my partner had had an ectopic pregnancy, become parents, and then become parents again, but lost the child. And then I'd been wrongly accused of rape, and my life just turned upside down. I couldn't hold a job down for longer than sort of 10 to 12 months. I was drinking all the time, and things just got on top of me. It come to the point where I was going to the pub to sort of relax, like it's a normal thing to do, to chill out on a weekend. But then I was doing it on my own. there was no one there that I was planning to meet, and I just found myself in a vicious circle of getting drunk from Thursday through to Sunday night, and then struggling my way through work without saying anything. I just bottled up my emotions, and me and my partner ended up getting back together, and it's been solid ever since. Really, we've since got married. It's been a good 6 years now since we've been back together, and there's been on and off. We needed that time, I think, and I won't say we needed them things to happen, but maybe if they didn't, we wouldn't be in such a strong position that we are now. And got into a job that I was settled with, and then our daughter came along. I'd only been in the job 11 days, and I started panicking, thinking, I was panicking all the way through that pregnancy in case it was a stillbirth again. And what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with it? Because I probably still haven't dealt with the grief of the last 2 losses and the rape accusation as I maybe should have done at the time. So all the way through the pregnancy, I was panicking and really nervous and anxious, and I suppose it was just adding to my depression and my anxiety. Anyway, our daughter come along. She was happy and healthy. Them anxieties had gone, and the depression had settled for a little bit. And it come to Christmas Day 2017. Our daughter was born in February 2017, so it would have been a first Christmas, all magical. And family tradition, go out for a few beers on Christmas Eve, and I think it's a tradition for many people. I don't think we were different in that way. And I just had enough. I started thinking I should be waking up to 3 children, or potentially 4 if we went at the ectopic. I just can't do it anymore. I've bottled it up for so long, and I just took myself off to the Humber Bridge early hours of Christmas morning, and fully intended of not coming off that morning. The police were called, turned up. I shut the Humber Bridge off for a few hours, and I'm not proud of it. It's just one of them things, and it is part of my story. Ended up going to a mental health assessment unit, and while I was in there, they said I had to sober up, obviously, and before they could question me. But it took a while for the doctors to turn up. Obviously, it was Christmas Day. Not many people are working anyway, so services are massively reduced. They questioned me and said, "Are you all right?" And bearing in mind, I'd been brought off the Humber Bridge by police in handcuffs just a few hours before. I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And with that, they let me go. And the police took over from there, took me back to the police station and questioned me. Had a Christmas dinner in the police station. Terrible. Warmed up lasagna, and I think the meat was green. It was awful.
What did you think about that, though? Can I just ask about, the fact that they let you go on Christmas Day? What do you think to that in terms of your mental state at that time? Should you have been kept in longer, or do you think that was
I think so.
Now?
Yeah, I think I probably should have been kept in longer, 100%. And at the time, I thought, well, yeah, that's all right. I've still got these suicidal thoughts. They've let me go. I've almost got a second chance to do what I wanted to do, and it's not obviously a positive thing to do. But it's the way that I was feeling. I could see everyone else's life around me better without me in it, and that includes my parents, my brothers, even my children, and my partner. I could see better without me in it, and it seemed like the last option, and I didn't want to cause anyone else any pain from my. I suppose I felt like a burden to everybody, and the weight had been lifted off their shoulders had I have been successful.
But what changed your mind? Sorry, can I ask what changed your mind not to do that in a sense? When I come out of the police station and started reflecting over the next few days of what had happened, and sort of everyone was rallying around me, and it was I suddenly had a change of mind, and not necessarily a change of mind, but I realised that people did care for me, and they were there. And a couple of months went down the line, I thought something needed to change. I thought I was handling it well. I'd started exercising a bit more,
And then just 11 months later, in November 2018, I was back up there again. And I suppose in hindsight, only looking back now as we're doing this, that I'd stopped doing everything that I'd initially done after Christmas Day. I'd stopped opening up, I'd stopped talking because I thought I was doing all right. And then, like I said, November 2018, I was back up there on the Humber Bridge with the exact same intentions. Police turned up again, and they took me back to the mental health assessment unit, the same one I was at just 11 months before. And this time, I suppose, it wasn't a case of saying, yeah, I'm fine. I wasn't trying to bottle it up anymore. I suppose I was now in a position, I was sat in the same room where I'd been just 11 months before, thinking, I've got 2 beautiful children back home. I've got a beautiful wife, and I've got all of this beautiful, well, she was only my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now. Got all these good things going on. Why do I feel like this? I thought I'd sorted it. And whilst I ended up staying in the mental health assessment unit for 5 or 6 days this time, which was good. I think if I'd have said I was fine, they'd have said, but you said you were fine 11 months ago, and now we're back in the same situation. So I needed to be more honest with myself. I needed to actually give it a go. I thought I'd tried everything, but I clearly hadn't. And then whilst I was in there, I'd changed my mindset a little bit and decided that I need to try harder to better myself for the people around me, because I am loved. My parents tell me that all the time. My brothers tell me, and whilst I was in the assessment unit as an inpatient, everyone come to visit me. So it proved that in the times of need, when I didn't think they were there, that actually they were, because they were going out of the way on almost daily to come and see me at every opportunity that they could to make sure I was okay and what I was going to do. And we were formulating a plan together. And I come out, I decided I was going to stop drinking for a little bit to see how that went, because I wasn't an alcoholic. I just enjoyed a drink, and I suppose that's what every alcoholic says. But I needed to do something to try and change what I was doing, because
some form of release.
Yeah, because the same thing that I was doing before to help or prevent how I was feeling obviously wasn't working, because that's why I was back in the situation. So I decided to try and stop drinking, and that worked. I started running a bit more. I've always been into fitness, and when I first went for a run, I stayed in the house like 3 days after I'd come out of hospital. Couldn't move. I could barely move out of the bedroom. I was like sort of too anxious and depressed to even move. I decided to go for a run and get some fresh air, and I'd probably done about half a kilometre, and started struggling a bit and thinking, why am I even bothering? And even the sort of dark voice inside my head said, like, come on, don't give up that easy, at least give me a bit of a challenge. So I carried on. I ended up doing 10k, which I thought was fairly impressive, because I hadn't run for a few months, but I'd always been into fitness and I'd always managed to keep relatively fit. And then I kept on doing it daily, and I ended up losing my job because I was a bus driver. The DVLA revoked my bus license, so I couldn't drive. They took my car license off me as well for 3 months. I've managed to get that back. I ain't got my bus license back yet though, because there's all medical practices and things that you need to go through, but I'm not too bothered about getting that one back. And I suppose the stopping drinking was a big part, but I used to run past a pub. Like if I was on my way back home, I'd run past the pub that I used to go drinking in to see how strong-willed I was. But I purposely didn't have my wallet on me, and I was in running gear, and I stunk. So I thought, if I want to go to the pub, I've at least got to go home, get a shower, get changed, get my wallet, and come back. And by that time, I can't really be bothered. So I was pushing the boundaries of my own willpower, I suppose, at that time. And I hadn't such a drop of alcohol since. I think it's 800 something days teetotal now, and my last drink was the night or the early morning of when I attempted suicide for the last time, hopefully the last time, which was back in 2018. So
yeah, you know, like I read your story, like I said, as research, and it's really like sort of really got to me in terms of the fact like we are probably similar age to each other as well, and to hear like what you've been through, like in your, is it 30, 31 are you now?
29.
29, sorry, even 29. Like I'm 30, so for me, like to hear like your stories, you know, to hear what you've been through was just really hit me in terms of, and like I say, I would like to ask in terms of like what was like a turn, like in your emotional state, what do you feel was the turning point? Was it the alcohol, or was the other things that sort of turned it, like, you know, the sort of feeling of, you know, like leaving your children, like you say, you attempted suicide, like was it leaving your partner, was it leaving your children, and the family, was that the catalyst in terms of changing your emotional state?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like I said, the first time when I was the first time I got stopped by the police was on the Christmas Day 2017, and I could picture it. Like I say, I could picture everyone's life without me in it, in a better scenario, even my children. But just 11 months later, my mindset had changed a little bit, and I could picture everyone's life without me in it, apart from my children. And I thought, which is maybe quite selfish, to think like that, but it was probably them that saved my life in terms of stopping me from doing it and going through with it, thinking actually my parents might still be better off, my partner might still be better off without me around. And like I said, I could look over the Humber Bridge and picture everything panning out in front of me. But what I couldn't picture is my children growing up without a dad. And I suppose that's what stopped me, or was a restriction that I was still trying to fight against to go through with it. And I suppose that sounds selfish in a way, but when people are in that situation and they think that is the only way out, they actually think they're doing everyone else a favour by ending it all.
Yeah, and that's not going to do everyone else a favour, because that you're sort of leaving people, like you say, just they have to pick up the pieces in terms of what's happened and stuff like that. And it's just like I say, that story really got to me. And then when obviously you're wearing your hat here, like, you know, what influenced the start of Wegoagain? You know, is that where did that entail in terms of starting that as a support group?
So from coming out of hospital, I was given a care coordinator, and she looked after me within the community mental health team. And I saw her weekly, and she started, like, we'd have a chat. It was almost like counselling or things like that, but she could put me in the direction of proper counselling, referred me to counselling and things like that. And she was suggesting these things that I maybe try. And I thought, what have I got to lose? I really want to give this a go, at least for my kids, to be there, no matter how rubbish I feel. Yeah, as long as I'm there for my children and doing the best I can. And I started attending these support groups, and I got into boxing. I got into not volunteering. I became a service user, or a client of working for health, which helped people get back into work and remain in work after and during suffering mental health. And like I said, I got into the boxing. And one night I was coming home from the gym, and I was aching like mad. And I was saying to myself, why do I do it? What am I doing this to myself for? What's the enjoyment? But I actually loved it. Like, I loved it while I was there. The aches and pains after are just all part of the fitness and the training. And I said to myself, well, that's all right. We'll go again tomorrow. And I didn't think anything of it. But then I started using it more and more. And then I was like, okay, there's something here. And I wanted to share my story, to raise awareness, I suppose, about mental health, and to share that people aren't alone and there is support out there. So I set up a YouTube channel called Wegoagain.wga and started sharing my story, sort of what I've been through, similar to what I've just said in here, but I did it on, like, me just speaking rather than the podcast and being asked the questions. And then I got a lot of positive comments and positive feedback about how I'd inspired people, how a certain video had saved someone's life. And I thought, that's great, it's working. But now I want to be more involved directly with helping people and having conversations such as what we're having now. And I set up I created an online e-commerce site. I had someone design me a logo, and it was purely for brand awareness about the YouTube channel. And I thought, if people are wearing my brand and wearing my logo on their clothes, people are going to ask, and then the YouTube channel will grow. And it sort of a month after I'd done that, a couple of sales had gone out on the t-shirts, on the hoodies, and then I got in touch with another supplier, and I got hold of some hats and some beanies and caps and things, and it started growing. And I was like, this is great. Now I want to be more directly involved with the conversation, which is the plan. So I set up as a peer support organisation. I still volunteer at 5 charitable organisations, so I was getting the experience in. And like I say, I set it up. I just offered some services, and just, I suppose, a place to chat for one-to-ones or as group sessions. And I hadn't really planned it through properly, but I started getting people in. I started speaking to people, and then people said, how much do you charge? And I was like, well, nothing at the minute. That sort of, this is just a bit of a hobby to save someone's life and to help another person. And then someone said, well, counsellors are charging X amount, and they've got to see someone for a certain amount of time. And I got thinking, so I set up as a peer support organisation where there's as little clinical involvement as possible. If people want to speak to me twice a week, that's okay. If people want to speak to me twice a year, that's all right. The service is there for when they want to use it. And I now offer one-to-one support sessions, group sessions, public speaking events, sort of corporate events, things like that I'm available for. But ironically, similar to yourself, I set up in the first lockdown. So the face-to-face wasn't really ideal, but I'm able to do it on online video platforms, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, things like that. And even if it's just a phone call to people like that. And I was speaking to a friend who runs a mental health first aid organisation, who provides mental health first aid training to those that are interested into businesses. And I said, look, how do I work out LinkedIn? Because I've never been on that before. So he said, right, you post something and I'll share it. He said, post something that you posted on one of your other social media posts about the night that you attempted suicide, and that picture of you and your partner. And I said, all right. So I copied and pasted it, put the picture in. He shared it. And I think within 3 weeks to a month, it had 4.5 million views, wow, 90,000 interactions, 3,000 comments, and like 1,600 shares around the world. And from that, I've got a lot of clients, I suppose, or individuals that I speak to. I've got someone in Dubai that's currently writing a book about me and my story. Speak to people worldwide because of that one post, and it's just crazy.
No, it is crazy, certainly in terms of like connections and stuff like that. And like I think it just says so much about yourself that you was even just willing to do Wegoagain for free. You know, like obviously it's just fortunate that someone would suggest to you to start like making it something like, let's say, comparing it to a counsellor and offering you something like that. And what I wanted to sort of veer towards now is in terms of, since starting it, what sort of the uptake been like? I mean, you obviously mentioned there that like someone in Dubai's even took it up, but like what's been like the uptake in terms of the peer support group been like?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal, really. And like I say, when I put that post on LinkedIn, I didn't expect it to go sort of as viral as it did. And I probably wasn't prepared for it. I just thought, I've got nothing to lose. I only got like 10 or 15 likes on Facebook or a couple of likes and shares on Instagram. But when I got 4.5 million, I was like, right now I've got to put some things in place and sort of create the website a little bit better to the services I offer, a contact form, and get all my, I suppose, my merchandise together properly so that it aligns with what I'm doing. And it's been an ongoing process. That's all been going on in the background. But I have had a lot of contacts, and I just spoke to someone the other day, a student at university, not in Hull, but further afield, and he wants to use my story and keep in contact with myself about how we can promote mental health and things like that. So that's just one thing that's come from it. But I've had a lot of clients or individuals that are suffering. And it's not just the people that are suffering that I support. If someone's got a friend or relative that's suffering and they don't know what to do with them, then they can speak to me if they don't feel the individual will or the groups will. And I've been asked at work to help set up a peer support group based on, not necessarily on Wegoagain, but just getting people together to talk and have a conversation. And sometimes some of my clients will contact me, they'll book in a session, and then on the morning they'll feel, actually, I feel all right today. That I don't think I need to see Luke or have that chat. I think I might maybe postpone it to next week, and that's absolutely fine. We can rearrange, and I work it all around my 9-to-5 business, which is good, I think, because the majority of people work the 9-to-5, Monday to Friday. So I'm able to offer that support when they're struggling at home alone because of the restrictions and the lockdown and isolation. Then I can provide that support at a time that best suits them, whether that's before work on a Friday or after work on a Monday, over a weekend. I even opened my business up on Christmas Day last year because I know firsthand sort of how hard it is around the festive time.
No, I think it's just really difficult to understand how there's obviously a common thing that I like to talk about, and that's like in terms of connection, in terms of like at this current time, we've got so many devices, we've got so many types of software and stuff like that we can use to connect with people, yet we sort of refuse to use it in a sense. I don't know if it's that interpersonal thing of being next to, like, being in person to do that conversation is the best way, but really we've got all these other ways, and obviously we're restricted right now in terms of having them sort of in-person things. Why do you think people choose not to use that?
I think there's still the stigma that's attached to it, and obviously in sort of mine and your role is doing this podcast is to build up that rapport with people. And I suppose from my lived experience and the people that I'm supporting and helping, there's almost that first 15 minutes of building that rapport is broken down because we already know, everyone knows what I've been through, which is why they're coming to me for the support. And it's having that common factor that whether it is, like I say, for someone that is struggling themselves or for someone that's got a family or relative that's struggling, I sort of know how they're feeling because I've spoken to my parents, I've spoken to my family, my brothers, about how they were feeling at that time, so I can provide that support. And it is, I suppose it's the shame or embarrassment that people aren't using the platforms or they aren't connecting. Like I said, they've got a mobile phone in their pocket, but they won't ring a friend, that maybe lives in a different city because they're embarrassed about what they might say or the judgment that they might get back. And it's like what myself's doing, what you're doing on the podcast, what Rebecca's doing with the Humber CBT, and what Ollie's doing with the Friends on Every Street. It's fantastic that they're raising awareness publicly. I spoke to a social media expert about putting posts out, and they said, "Oh, you need to do it at this time, because this is when everyone's online and you'll get more views." And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. But what if I'm not feeling like that at that time? So everything I post, it comes real and raw as it is, as I'm feeling, as I'm typing it. And I think that sort of builds up that support and inspires hope in others, which is obviously the long-term aim of myself and other people around me that are doing similar things. But we need to break down that connection and the embarrassment factor, I think, and not be ashamed of it.
Yeah, we need to reach out more than ever, I feel. And part of your Wegoagain, what sort of activities do you do with your sort of peer support group? Do you do affirmations? Do you do sort of like goals in terms of what they want to achieve each day? Do they talk about the achievements each day that they've done? What sort of things do you ask them to do?
Yeah, so a lot of it, like I said, it's very little clinical involvement or very little clinical strategies. It's literally just about what the individual or the group that I'm speaking to wants to engage in. If it's a group session, sometimes we'll just have a chat and almost a check-in and see how the last week's been and what they've got planned for the next week going ahead, knowing full well that last week might have been good, but today might be crap and next week might be terrible. But it's about what can you do in terms of adversity. And I don't really offer courses. It's literally sessions. If I book a group session, I can book a course of sessions if I wanted to. But if people only want to come to one, or they want to come to, for example, 10, that's entirely up to them. And a lot of it will go through how they're feeling and what they're doing about it, and how I felt and what I did in similar situations. And it's not about you must do this because it worked for me, because different things work for different people. So we'll just have a chat, and if they're in my local area, I might go for a walk with them. If they're struggling to get to a doctor's appointment, I'll help them with that. I'll help them get there. And that's the plan, sort of post-COVID and things like that. Obviously, it's a little bit more tough with the GPs sort of being overridden by the vaccine at the minute, which is fantastic that that's finally available. But yeah, it's just about providing that person-centered support and offering them something that they want to hear. But I'm not in a position to say, well, actually, just because you want to hear that, I'm going to tell you it, because that's not going to. I'm also honest. So if I don't think it's working at the time, then I'll try something different with them. And that it's just flexible to the individual and the group itself.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of lockdowns, we are in the third lockdown again. And what I would like to ask you is, in terms of how have you found sort of the lockdowns and the restrictions in terms of challenging your sort of mental state?
It's been a strange one, because I've been in sort of mental health work for the past sort of since before lockdown, actually. And I haven't stopped working. Fortunately, I've been in a position where I've been classed as a key worker. So early on, before I changed jobs to the NHS, I was actually going out to work. I was doing my normal daily job as a team leader of a mental health peer support team. And that didn't really change. But what did change is telling the residents what's happened, because it was a supported living accommodation. It was about supporting them in that way. But for myself, it's not a lot's changed, because I don't drink, I don't watch TV, so I'm out running quite a bit. But obviously there has been the challenges of homeschooling. I've got 2 young children, a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old. So there has been challenges that everyone is facing. Fortunately, or unfortunately, now in the NHS, I'm working from home, which has its pros and its cons, like everything does. I like to be out and about. I like to be doing. I like to have that face-to-face contact, because I feel that you get the raw emotion and you get better connection face-to-face. And it is frustrating, because I'm a real people person. And although I don't drink, I'm happy to go in a pub and socialise and sort of have a laugh and a bit of banter with my friends or my family. It has been tough, and it's tough for everyone. And I've said before, a lot of people say we're all in the same boat, but we're not. We're all in the same storm. We're all in different boats, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we really haven't maybe appreciated how lucky we were in terms of socialising with people. And I think we've now been able to appreciate the little things in life now, in terms of having them sort of social interactions with people, and just taking for granted like them times maybe where we were spending time with family and going out for meals and stuff like that. I think they're the things that I really think that we will really cherish once this all ends, where we can actually go out and do what we want to do. And hopefully the vaccine will hopefully speed this up, and hopefully that we're able to go back to some form of normality. I think that would be such a great thing to see in the future. And I'd like to ask you, in terms of for people that might be struggling during this lockdown, what 3 things would you suggest to help them get through it?
What 3 things? I like these. When I first came out of hospital, I used to use the term "what 3 things," and it was a daily task list. And after you've done the first 3 tasks, you then write another 3 down. But these are tasks that doesn't matter whether you get them done or not. So when I first came out of hospital, my first 3 tasks was get out of bed, get dressed, make the bed. And sometimes it would take me a week to even do that. But then the time that I'd completed it, and I had to write another 3 tasks, was brilliant. And then you build on from there. So that'd be I suppose that'd be one of them. Write down a small list of things to accomplish in the day that actually aren't going to matter if you get done or if you don't. It's not something that's going to play on your mind. And it's when you look back at the end of the day and they are done, you feel a massive achievement, whether you only get one thing done or you end up writing another 6. You've still achieved something. And reading, I've taken up reading since lockdown. Just a little bit of time to yourself, whether that's 10, 15 minutes, or if you're a confident avid reader, then maybe put an hour a day aside if you've got the time. And my third and final and probably most important is get outside while you can, whether it is just a walk around the block, walk around the park. If you're into fitness, go for a run around the park, run a little bit further than you normally would, because getting out of the comfort zone is where growth really happens. And whether that's a run, a kilometre, do a couple of sit-ups and press-ups, run another kilometre, do some star jumps, do some squats, anything, try something new, learn a new hobby.
No, they're really good suggestions, and I probably have to admit, like, we're recording this in January right now. I don't think I've seen more people outside than ever in January at this time when it's this cold and stuff. People are, despite the weather, they're still making the effort to get outside. And like you said about books as well, I will happily send you a few books across in terms of stuff I've read in the last year that I would suggest for you to venture into. And what are the future plans for Wegoagain? I know that you said to me or said about that you are looking to do, is it 12 marathons in 12 months for 12 different charities in the local area? Do you want to expand on about this challenge that you're setting yourself up for?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always wanted to run a marathon, and I planned on doing it last year, and I got stricken with a bit of an injury, so I couldn't train as much. And the furthest I've run is half a marathon, up until December last year, when a friend of mine was running an ultra, which is 60 kilometres. And I thought, I'm going to give that a go. He's running it in his hometown. I'll run it at the same time as him, but around my area. And I got to 33 kilometres, and I was on for a good one. And then I realised I had a missed call off the wife, so I rung her back, and I couldn't walk and talk because my GPS tracker was sort of messing up, and I didn't want my speed to go down. So I stopped and I had the phone call. And then when I tried running again, my knees had seized up. And I was up well past Headon, and I live in Hessel, so I was a good distance away from home. I had to get on the bus and come home. I was really embarrassed. So I decided that I wanted to do something big. I've always wanted to give back to charity. So I decided that I'd run 12 marathons in 12 months for 12 organisations in my local area. And the organisations are Andy's Man Club, which I happily facilitate at, Working for Health, which is another organisation that I volunteer at, getting people back into work or remaining in work through the battles of mental health. Call for Brain Recovery, who help people with acquired brain injuries to have that support that's available from Paul, who founded the organisation after his own brain injury. I volunteer for them as well. I'll be donating to Wegoagain. I'll be donating to Mind. Tell me, I've got a list written down here. And I will be donating to SANS, Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Society, which is the charity that helped me and my partner when we lost our son to stillbirth. I'll be donating to Oscar's Chance. I don't know if you know Oscar, is a son of a friend of mine who's got forelimb cerebral palsy. So they're always doing charity fundraising events to raise money for his physio and the equipment that he needs. Another charity I'll be donating to is Rue's Army. We used to live next door to Rue before we moved house, and unfortunately Rue was diagnosed with a brain tumour and was in hospital for a long period of time, and we moved house sort of in between while they were at hospital, so we didn't get a chance to see them, but we are still close, and my wife's quite close to Rue's mum, so they'll be going there. I'll be also donating to November, men's health organisation for prostate and testicular cancer and men's mental health and suicide awareness. Hull for Heroes, helping veterans in our area in various aspects of their life. And I don't know how many I've named, but I think I've named them all. And Vulcan Boxing, I'm a volunteer coach at Vulcan Boxing down Doncaster Street, Heron Street. I'll be donating money to them. The aim is to raise £1,200 so that each organisation gets £100. Anything above that will be split equally into the charities.
I think that's an awesome achievement, what you're going to set yourself up for, and I really hope that it's not just 1,200. I hope it's a lot more that you raise for all them charities, because that's what they deserve. And I'd like to now finally sort of ask you a couple of final questions. I've not sent you these through, but so the first one is, what does it mean to be human?
It's a tough one, and it's one I've not been asked for a while, and I suppose it's even tougher to answer after multiple suicide attempts and not feeling human and being totally emotionless. And I suppose being human is, to me, being kind and treating people the way that you would like to be treated, showing that kindness and showing that empathy, that it is okay to talk, and together we can achieve more, whether that's the small goal that somebody wants to achieve for themselves, together with a team around them of supportive people, it can be achieved without a doubt.
That's really true. And the final question I like to ask is in terms of what keeps you to stay humble.
Yeah, that's another good one. Staying humble is, you see it quite a lot, and it's a fantastic podcast and fantastic title that you've got for the platform. Staying humble for myself is about not bragging too much about the material things. I put a post out the other day on social media about people post on social media that they're always there to support mental health, but then when it comes down to it, they haven't got the time, or there's an excuse that they can't actually do it behind closed doors. And it's about doing what you say when you say you're going to do it. For example, for mental health, if your friend comes to you and they're struggling, don't tell them you haven't got time, because just you're putting it on social media for likes and interactions, when actually when it comes down to the nitty gritty, you're not willing to sit there and listen to someone's problems because you can't be bothered. Sometimes you don't even need to say anything. It's just being there. But it's being humble is doing things behind closed doors and what you would normally, rather than for social media.
Mm-hmm. And Luke, what I want to do now is give you the opportunity, sort of a platform for people to reach out to you, with Wegoagain, in terms of where can people find you, sort of social media, or where to search you up, really.
Yeah, so I'm available on Facebook under Wegoagain. I'm available on Instagram, Wegoagain.wga. I have a website, www.Wegoagain.wga.com. From there, there's a contact form. There's all my merchandise available on there. The contact form comes directly to my email. And if you've got any questions, any queries, if you want to have a chat, all sessions are based on, you get a free 15-minute consultation, and I won't charge for that. And then from there, we can organise sessions if you want. On LinkedIn, you can find me under Luke Scott or Wegoagain. Give that a follow. On YouTube, it's Wegoagain.wga, and there will be more video and media content coming up on all platforms over the year, and promoting my charity event. And I suppose I didn't answer your question correctly in terms of what's for the future for Wegoagain. There's a lot ahead for me, I think. I want to, effectively, I run as a non-for-profit organisation. All profits that I make after business costs do go back into various charities in the community and nationwide. In the future, I want to set up a drinks company under Wegoagain that's a healthy drink company, not like a protein shake or anything like that, but a healthy type of water, I suppose, and that's good for the mental state. And it's something that I'll begin researching over the next 12 months while doing all of this, and just giving back and growing the community and the society that we live in, and breaking down stigmas for mental health and supporting those that need it, whether it's through myself as Wegoagain or directing them to a service that might better be suited to them, because I'm not one to just take people's money if it's not going to benefit them or me.
Yeah, I really hope that this conversation that we've shared for the duration is going to help people. You know, people that listen to this podcast. I hope that this, if they are going through a bad time or they're feeling the effects of lockdown and stuff like that, I really hope that just us two speaking about it, that is going to help people. And like I say, I'm certainly going to share that in the podcasting notes as well, in terms of, you know, any helplines or certainly your contact details as well to help people. And I really thank you for coming on this podcast and sharing your story. You know, it's a story that people need to hear, and I really appreciate you giving me your time for coming on today and sharing that. So thank you, Luke, for doing that today.
David, thank you for having me on. You don't have to thank me for my time. It's what I do, and it's what many other people do. If I can get the word across to even just one person about reaching out and speaking to somebody, like I say, whether that's myself or yourself or just a friend or family member, to start opening up about the mental health if they're struggling, then together we've achieved something.
I would agree. So thank you again.
Thank you.